G'day and welcome to Insights and Storytellings with me, Moon Willow. As always, I just really want to thank you for joining me and contributing your energies into these storytellings. It means a real lot to me. I can feel the extra energies coming in, even though, as I've said in the past, I pre-record these before they go out. And I know that even if you're not watching these on the day, that if you come across these later on, your energy will still be a part of this, which I find mind-blowing, but really and extraordinary, but very comforting at the same time, that we're all contributing to creating a new world, really. And a new experience that is one of equality and empowering. So it means a lot to me. It really does. And I just wanted to take the time to really appreciate your presence. I know with my own viewing habits of other people's work that it is really honouring to have you join me, as I say, and contributing your energies. So going from that into today's storytelling and musings and reflections, because that's really what my day's been about, in a lot of respects. I couldn't get over earlier today just the amount of people out and about. I'm guessing now sort of taking the opportunity to get out of their houses before we experience sort of like the next layer, the next level of fear and conditioning and control, from my point of view, for no particular reason, but that's just my opinion. I'm in a quandary because I don't know whether just to continue on or stop this and restart. So I'm actually going to press on. Thank you for bearing with me. So when I got back this evening, I felt the most normal I felt in a long time, and the most completely connected with myself and my joy this evening. And that was through having music on and one of my favorite pastimes, cooking, creating food for myself to nurture my physicality. And dancing around the kitchen is something that I really enjoy, and it's been a while since I've put music on to do that, and it was just that complete sense of wholeness and being in that moment, which I find sort of increasingly recently has been a little bit more difficult to gain and experience. So I just, I felt like bringing that up because I have a feeling that I'm not alone in that just this year has been such a roller coaster, especially these last couple of months, of sort of corralling us into fear and stressing and getting worried about where the next meal is going to come from, whether we can see people or not see people, how do we reach out, how do we be a part of the world when there's so many restrictions put in place, and I'm finding sort of this medium a really beneficial one, to feel a part of something larger than myself. And I think that's why it's so important for me to acknowledge that it's not just me sitting here doing a storytelling, that actually your energies are contributing to that as well. One of the other things I've noticed this evening was I was playing solitaire, and it was one particular game where I felt that it just wasn't going to come out, that it was going to be a case of starting afresh, starting all over, starting from the beginning again. And I continued playing that particular game, and all of a sudden it was like the cards aligned and the game completed. I was able to get to the end of it without giving up, and seeing the pattern in it and it just falling into place. And the reason why I bring that up is that I have this sense that this is very sort of indicative of what we're living through at the moment, that it's got that feel of one step forward, several steps back. We're going to have to start again, that we can only go so far, and then it's going to fall apart and it's not going to make sense, and we're not going to be able to work out how to get through to that next dimension. It's tantalizingly close, but at the last minute that's going to be taken away. And I know that a lot of that is being fed into by the strictures that the government's putting on at the moment. And it's just that wearying sense of, again, do we have to do this again? We've already been here, it didn't make a difference. How are we going to work our way through that? And I guess what I'm saying is it's a case of holding our nerve and really focusing in on the higher frequencies, really concentrating on the here and the now, on the things that we can do, whether that be like I did this evening, having music on and cooking and simply being present and being a part of the now world, and recognizing that in that moment that I was nourishing myself not only on a physiological level but an emotional level by having the music and singing along to it, but also on, and it felt good, and also on a spiritual level, in recognizing that the foods that I was choosing to put together had a linkage for me to someone who passed, and that was nice, that was warming. And recognizing that these relationships change when they pass over. It might have been problematic when they were alive, but that can actually have a purer, loving quality with it once they've gone. And really that just the spiritual presence of being present in this now moment. And even if we can't achieve that all the time, that actually looking at the moments when we do achieve that and really enjoying those moments, and it's each one we enjoy, the next one will come into place, like playing the solitaire, that instead of giving up, that we just try and rework it and try and come at it from a different level, a different perspective, and not get hooked into the negative. It's not to deny that that exists, it's not to deny that it doesn't have an impact on us, but we can alchemize that, and we can have a different quality of contact with that and change our lives accordingly. And instead of seeing or viewing things as limitations, but it's giving us the opportunity to spend more time with ourselves, really focusing in on the relationships we have with ourselves and other people, and how can we nurture and continue growing those in a way that circumnavigates the strictures put out there by other people. I don't know whether I've mentioned him before, but one of my favourite authors, and one of my favourite books that I came across when I was in school was called Man's Search for Meaning by a gentleman called Viktor Frankl. And within his work, he was in the concentration camps of the Second World War, and he was looking at how people were reacting and handling the same situation in different ways. And it was the way that they approached it gave their meaning to what was happening. And I think this is a real case in point that the way we make meaning to our situation, the way we inform our environment, helps us progress forward in a manner that is the most beneficial for us, really. And that can be negative as well. We could end up being doomsayers and this is all going to pop, this isn't going to work, we're never going to get out of this. We can end up sort of living in fear, we can live in anger, we can live in anxiety, but equally we can live in bliss, we can live in freedom. Because at the end of the day, whilst we breathe, no matter what is happening on an external level, on an internal level, we have the ability to remain free. And by doing that, those next bliss moments, those next now moments, those next free moments can become more and more often. We can actually explore different parts of the world in our mind. We can review memories, we can hold things dear, we can get carried away looking at the frost on the ground and notice the sunlight in there and notice the beauty of that and the simplicity, but the multidimensionality of that one thing, and that can just expand everything that's going off around us. So yeah, a couple of ponderings for today again. So on that note, I'm going to see which crystal wants to come out within that. Oh, that one jumped in. So this is the Amethyst, so the third eye. Very much our way of making sense of the world and what sort of world we'd like to live in, by closing our eyes to the physical world around us and going within and connecting to the bigger picture and connecting to those bliss moments and what makes our soul sing and how would we like to proceed forward. That no limitations really can exist to prevent us from moving in the manner that we would like to move. We may need to become more dexterous in how we maneuver through situations, but realistically, there is nothing holding us back. We create obstacles, and we put obstacles in our way more often than anything on the external level. So it's really recognizing that. And If you're having to isolate again and sit still, this is an ideal opportunity to have a look at what you've done recently and how that made you feel. How do you, if it made you feel really good, how do you work on more of that? Really noticing the synchronicities of what's coming through. Those moments when you decide that you're not going to go to work, and then you understand why, because something else comes in that moment, in that space, that you wouldn't have necessarily noticed if you had got yourself busy in the third dimension. So really having that look within, noticing the things that feel easy to do. I don't know, like talking to birds, or really noticing the sunset, singing and how that makes you feel, putting yourself out there, contacting friends and the response you're getting from them. Really noticing the connections you have around you as well, and how you can work on establishing more of those, or really strengthening those connections even stronger with those people that you may be vaguely aware of. You've really enjoyed their company, but then you can work out how to reach out to them more. Noticing that you have a sense of whether you find something easier to do than others, like cooking and feeding a lot of people. It might be that an opportunity comes up to do that and integrate more with other people around you. So that sort of really going within and seeing what resonates for you and how you can move forward or not. So I'm really hoping, I've just had a couple of messages come in on my phone, so I'm really hoping that this hasn't stopped recording and hasn't impacted, but we'll see. Anyway, so I'm going to go to the cards, but that's what got me a little bit distracted then as well. So drawbacks of doing this on my phone, I guess. And split these cards. So we've got the mountain or the iceberg, the divine feminine, and the Watchtower. So really having a look at sort of what's missing as well. So you may have been too busy that someone may have reached out to you and you hadn't noticed, and by taking down time, it's you recognize that actually this might be something that you can build on. Also noticing that some of the underlying reactions and responses to things that are going off around you is preconditioned stuff, that it is stuff left over, a residual from childhood, or societal norms that you've bought into that no longer resonate for you, and that's okay to put them down, that you don't have to live in fear, that you don't have to live in stress anymore, that even if that was familiar, we can change our stories, we're able to change our stories. But it can't be just done on a surface level. We need to take that moment to breathe and really connect with the depths of our unconscious and subconscious, and those bits that we hide from ourselves, so that we can bring them to the surface and really look at them with the eyes of our soul, as it were, to integrate everything fully, so that we can actually live in that now moment and find meaning for our lives going forward. So the next card is the Woman. And I think this is very much, got to go back to this one. So at the moment, we've spoken about the shifts in energy, and that at the minute we're moving into the age of Aquarius, which is the divine feminine, and really reintegrating her, so going into more of a matriarchal society. But that is not to neglect or degenerate the masculine either. It is very much about integration, the whole package. But a lot of, and we're in full moon at the moment, so a lot of what's going off at the moment is distraction techniques. It's smoke and mirrors. It's so that we don't notice everything that's going off underneath. And a lot of what we're preconditioned with and for, and just that cognitive dissonance means that we really don't particularly want to see the bigger picture. We don't really want to see what's lurking beneath, and we get a sense that there is something lurking beneath, that we're not being told everything, that there is smoke and mirrors going off, but it's also within our internal world as well as our external world. So this to me is really saying, using our discernment, our higher knowledge in our third eye, is really looking with full awareness and full veils taking back, and really noticing what fits, what makes sense, how do we navigate and go forward with that. Bringing in sort of like the emotional responses of the divine feminine as well, and how do we make meaning of the information, and not only the information of what the main media is pushing on us, but also this higher vibrational frequency that's coming in, the ringing in our ears, the tiredness, the wobbling, the spinning energy on a regular basis, where the world doesn't feel quite straight or firm at the minute, and really anchoring in to ourselves and really having that internal look inwards, because there is a part of us that knows why we're here, and it's learning to trust that we are walking in the right way, that we are moving in the right way, and that our instincts and the synchronicities are diverting us onto the right path, and we'll be supported in that. Which brings me into the last card, which is the Watchtower. So that is our ancestors, the people who have passed over, our soul families. So similar to the cross, but this is more specific to our ancestors and those that have passed over, that no matter what the relationship we had with them when they were alive, or we may not have met them, it may have just been through stories, that they've actually got our backs. Some of it though is has been about shifting karmic debts through family lines, through ancestral lines, and that's no more. The time of that's gone, and a lot of this at the moment for me is stripping back to basics and really getting to know ourselves balls to bones, really feeling okay with ourselves. It doesn't matter what other people think. We are the ones that really need to work out how to be okay with us, and recognize that we are worthy, that we are walking in the right direction, that sometimes we hit obstacles and we have to maneuver around it, and that is okay, that the synchronicities are still coming in as long as we lift up our heads long enough to notice. that they are there, and they're actually having to take time that's enforced is actually not necessarily a bad thing, that actually that can be quite good and help move us forward. So that feels complete for this evening. I am hoping again that this is recording all the way through. I'm just going to see which sound comes through for us tonight. I was reminded last night, I ended up singing to myself last night, and I think I'm actually going to sing it on here now. So, Old Man River, the Old Man River, it keeps on rolling, it keeps on rolling on, which is about the Mississippi. But I think it's very much the river of time, and we happen to be at this moment stood in the centre of a river with fast running currents and slower moving areas, and it's taking us all our times to stand upright and not drown at the minute, and that is enough for the now. But really recognizing that the river is constantly changing, and by that we are changing at the same time, and we cannot resist it. We do need to figure out how to flow on that upper surface and not get dragged under. So, as I say, I hope this is making sense to you all. Take care of yourselves, and hopefully I'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, love you all. Bye for now.